Welcome to my series about how do we help students take an anti-boring approach to their own learning this school year. The we, by the way, is teachers, educators, parents. How do we help unlock learning in students? And today we're going to be looking at two characteristics that I want educators to embody as well as students so that we can model it for students to help students actually be more active learners this school year. The first one of these characteristics is that anti-boring students and their educators understand the science of how our brains learn. I am seeing that this is increasingly important to help students be motivated to do all of the things that are so boring that we ask them to do in schools these days. At least if they understand the science of how our brains learn, then they're able to make a bridge to be like, oh, that's why my teacher has asked me to do this, fill out this boring worksheet, or that's why I actually should study several days before the test. Got it. Because school's not very exciting. If you missed the video about why I even use the phrase anti-boring when I talk about unlocking student learning, go watch that because it's a really important unpacking of student responsibility, but also educator responsibility. So the science of how we learn is one of the most important commitments that I ask all the students I work with to take on. And then, therefore, I ask all the educators who I train to equip themselves with the least they need to know. You don't have to know all the neuroscience, all of the research in cognitive psychology. But I do ask you to know the least necessary to help students take action and meaningful action in their learning, right? And for me, that is what I call the study cycle. This is the picture of my model where I have consolidated all of the things that happen in the brain when we're learning that I've learned through reading a bunch of neuroscience into the three most important steps that students can cycle through when they're learning. And if you would actually like to learn this model, it's available for you for free, actually. There's a download and then a video series at gretchenwegner.com/secrets. So you can learn the study cycle there. I highly recommend it if you haven't taken in this model yet. It is one of the most efficient ways I have seen, and I'm getting feedback from the hundreds of educators who take my courses that it's the most efficient way they have seen of getting the brain science to students in a way that they understand it in 10 minutes or less. Sounds like a magic promise, right? But it's true. Okay, I wanted to read to you all a journal entry that one of the educators who takes my course put inside the course recently. She said, I taught the study cycle twice this week, and the students seemed really intrigued. One of my students has ADHD and dyslexia, and just the premise that we have to retrace these neural pathways several times before they can become deep and fixed in our brains seems to give him a feeling of relief and grace for himself. My other student may require a few repetitions or a more concise presentation from me maybe, because he wasn't able to explain much to his mom following our session. But back into the basket of knowledge we go. You probably don't understand the basket of knowledge reference, but go to that gretchenwegner.com/secrets and it will become more apparent there. But I wanted to share this quote with you because I wanted you to see that one of the things I work with educators around is how we can be concise and brief in how we share just this limited amount of scientific information that helps a student really explain the why it's important for me to do all of these actions that all the grown-ups are telling me to do that just seems like busy work. The brain science is the explanation for that, and I swear to you it increases student motivation when they learn the study cycle. Okay, there's a second characteristic though that I want to share with you because the brain science is well and good, but actually it doesn't do much for a student unless They equip themselves, so students and you educators equip themselves with the tools necessary to put that science into action. We're interested in action, right? And I've noticed that many educators who start learning the science of learning get so into it that they share too much with the students in their world, and the students get excited but also a little lost about everything there is to know about the brain, retrieval, interleaving, dual coding, all these words. So we need to teach the least they need to know about the science, and then link that science with very specific tools that put that science into action. And I wanted to just share a little example, because what do you think the most common tool is for studying that teachers suggest students do? Got a thought? I would venture to say make flashcards. A lot of clients I work with are like, I hate flashcards. Now, flashcards can be a wonderful tool, but oh my goodness, they are boring to work with most of the time. But if you teach students the science behind why flashcards might work, like the steps that a brain needs to go through in order to learn anything, and then say, where on the study cycle do you think flashcards fit? The answer would be right over here, step number 2, retrieval practice. Then students can understand, oh, this is how I should be using them. I need to use them to test myself. But if you test yourself so much with a flashcard that you get bored and your brain starts to turn off, then you need to actually step over here to step 3 on the study cycle and encode in a new way. You need to add more variety to your learning. And both these pieces, using flashcards, but in a way where you have more variety, where you keep your brain awake and intrigued and interested, that is the secret to anti-boring learning. So the science and the tools together are what I have seen make the biggest difference in terms of turbocharging a student's willingness and ability, not just willingness, but ability to actually unlock, where did my whiteboard go? To actually unlock their own learning by taking an anti-boring approach. Those are 2 of 10 characteristics that I'm going to be sharing with you in this series. So hang tight for the next video, and while you're waiting for it to pop up on your screen, how about liking and subscribing, please? Pretty please, it helps me so much. See you in the next video. Oh, I wanted to end every video in this series with a little script that you could use with students so that you can get a little helpful nugget that you can put into action immediately, because immediate effective action is so important in learning. So in this case, I would like to encourage you to use the phrase, would you like to, or would you be willing to, with your students. And specifically, you could practice asking them this question: would you like to learn the brain science behind learning? It might help you understand the reason you ... and then insert the thing that might be motivating to this particular student or group of students. In the case of this example, we were talking about why a student might hate flashcards, but you could also say it might help you understand the reason why you feel like you studied so hard for that test and then didn't make a good grade on it. Or it might help you understand why you fall asleep every night when you're sitting there reading your textbook. Whatever it is that you think would motivate the student, try inserting that here. You can even, as a bonus tip, say at the end of this question, it'll only take us about 10 minutes for me to explain this to you, and I think it's really going to help you. Would you be willing? Try that out. Let me know how it goes. If you think to come back to this video and comment below, I would love to hear how it turned out. And I'll see you now in the next video.